Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Corinth. Today we want to talk about accreditation within our fire department, and we have as our guest Chief Michael Ross and Assistant Chief Chad Thiessen. And when we talk about accreditation, we have accreditation all around us. I mean, hospitals are accredited, schools are accredited, different departments or agencies go through accreditation processes. And what we're now talking about is the accreditation of our fire department. So, Chief Ross, can you talk about what's the accrediting agency and kind of the process we've been looking at in this area?
Yes, and thanks for having me here. I always enjoy talking about our department. I'm really proud of it and excited for this next chapter with the accreditation process. We've been working with the Texas Fire Chiefs Commission, their best practices accreditation program, and working with them over the last 12 months to do the final submission. The program is intended to challenge organizations to ensure they're doing the best they can for the communities and the people that they serve. It's a 12-chapter program, and within those 12 chapters, there's a total of 113 specific content areas that they evaluate. Everything from our staffing to ensuring we have policies in place to how well we take care of our injured folks, our response times, our fiduciary responsibilities, our purchasing, our dispatch, our security, our records maintenance. Every aspect that you could imagine related to managing an emergency service from a fire and EMS and emergency management standpoint. They have a standard level that's applied across the state. And this is also in coordination with the Center for Public Safety Excellence, where you can do a national accreditation. So many people will start with this and then grow it into that. But the overall intent really is to ensure that we are doing everything we can to have the policies and the programs in place to ensure that when the rubber does meet the road and we are responding to assist the people in our community, that we are fully prepared, we are fully trained, and we are providing the best service possible.
Now, Chad, this will be really directed a little bit more to you. When I've watched accreditation go on, a lot of it is the self-assessment process is really instrumental, and that falls into an operational area. You're the assistant chief over operations, so tell me the impact that you've seen as you have looked at these different best practice areas and on your self-assessment.
Well, that's a great question because when we initiated the program, I really thought there was going to be just a ton of items that we were going to need to commit to and to maybe redo or look at. And I have to say, and kudos to our guys and to our administration team, there wasn't a whole lot we needed to change. There were a few items that we needed to pick up and maybe some policies that we needed to add a word or two. But really, overall, we were already practically meeting the best practices. So that was nice to know and took a lot of pressure off of me as being that operations guy. The guys, we have quizzed them over and over about, hey, during this process, have you felt us, did you know we were even going through the process? Did you have any idea? Other than us telling you that we were going through the process, they had no idea. There was no change at their level. Operationally, we are very sound. I think it's important to note as well that this is a floor and not a ceiling. This is not where we want to end. This is just where we want to begin. And we already do some things that are even higher or have a better benchmark than even the accreditation process. So overall, I think we're in a good spot. And it really took a lot of pressure off of me because we were already meeting a lot of them. I don't know, out of the 113, how many do you think we had to? There wasn't.
Most of it was just collecting data and putting the information in the format that they required so they would be able to properly assess it and know what we were talking about. I think at the end of the day, I think we tweaked 6 policies, and some of them were as simple as just adding the name of the department we would call if we had the need for a hazmat team. We had it in a different area. They requested that we add it to this one area. So again, there was nothing earth-shattering. And if I could, this process really started 3 or 4 years ago, because we have been evaluated thoroughly multiple times in the last few years, beginning with our ISO process.
Yeah, let me stop you. If ISO, can you explain that very briefly for our listeners?
It's similar to an accreditation program, but what they do is the insurance services organization or office that sets the standard from 1 to 10, 10 being the lowest. So it's a reverse scale where you're 1 being the highest accreditation or the highest ranking. And it looks at your responses, it looks at your station locations, which is a key piece of this, as well as your ability to provide water and arrive on scene. And it looks at it from that perspective. And insurance companies all over the country use these ratings to set the insurance rates for your home. I don't have the specific statistics in front of me, but basically, if you were in an area that was a 4 or a 5, you would have a set insurance rate based on the value of your home. But if you were in an area that was an ISO rated 2, potentially have a lot cheaper insurance, because the lower the number means you have better fire protection and less chance of you losing everything and the insurance company having to pay out. And so we went through that process and went from a 4 to a 2. And we had 88.4 or 0.6, and you have to have a 90 to be a 1, which is the top tier. And we were within a couple of points of being there. So we're an extremely high 2, almost a 1. Then the Center for Public Safety Management was brought in to do an operational and administrative analysis. Soon after I became the fire chief, we brought him in because as a new leader, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And I've always touted the professionalism and the excellence within our organization, but some may say I'm a little biased. So it was exciting to have someone come in that is partnered with the International City Managers Association and do these accreditations all over the country and these analysis. And it was actually them that said, you know what, you're spot on. Why aren't you an accredited organization? So we were very pleased to get that positive feedback from them on how well the fire department is managing the customer care and the emergency responses within our district. So it kind of, again, led into this. So we've had that process over and over again, and each time we learn from it. And as Chief Thiessen remarked, you know, this is the floor, it's not the ceiling. This is just additional affirmation that we really are doing the right things for our community and for the people that make up the organization, which are key to any organization. And I can't brag enough on their strengths and their genuine concern for the people in our district. You know, the city boundaries don't matter. They take care of the Lake Cities district. And with this accreditation piece, again, it's just another look from a different perspective to continually reassure our community that we take what we do very serious and we care and we're doing what we need to do to ensure that we stay on top of taking care of you.
I'm going to stay on the ISO rating, the Insurance Services Organization rating, for just a moment, because when they look at that, they look not only at the fire department, the response and the equipment and capabilities, but they also look at the water system, of how well the water system's laid out, the water pressure, the hydrants, and so forth. And then they also look at the building inspection program. Are we following the building code? So it is a comprehensive look at the organization. But when we talk about being a very high 2, here for the Lake City's fire department, a lot of that is a function of size as well. So we're serving about 42,000 people, I think, collectively. That's an extraordinarily high rating for that population, as I understand.
That is correct.
Could you expand on that? Because I think most of the ones and the twos tend to be much larger in the organizations.
Yeah, that's a good point. We are I guess a mid-size area when you combine all the cities and a little bit of Denton County. The thing that we have going for us is we are surrounded by Denton and Louisville and Little Elm and then Argyle on the other side. So we are surrounded by the ability for mutual aid, and that helps in our ISO rating that we can get these other cities in to help us pretty quick. It's not quick enough to give us the best rating because we do have to fall under certain response times. And if you look at NFPA 1710, we have to meet those guidelines. But we do have pretty quick responses. And also, we help those organizations out. So they need our help in their ratings. And so that's why it's called mutual aid, right? We give them and then they give us. And it happens every day, I think. We're helping them or they're helping us. It's a daily matter for us.
I want to take back though. Because you threw out very quickly NFPA 1710.
Yeah.
So here we're talking about the National Fire Protection Association, and this is the pronouncement 1710 is just a set of standards that we as a fire department have to meet. Is that you might want to expand on that?
Go ahead. There's specific response standards, and they have time commitments. But
Yeah, you have 60 seconds to get out of the house per se on a medical call, and 80 seconds to get out of the house on a fire call. There's a little bit of a buffer because you got to get a little more dressed when you're responding to a fire call than you do for an EMS call. And then you have parameters on the time limits from once you leave the station to get to that. And so you typically want, is it a minute 20 for EMS and it's a minute 60 or minute 40 for a fire call. Those are pretty quick timelines, and the 1710 says that you need to meet that 90% of the time. There's no way to meet it 100% of the time because you just don't know what's going on within your organization. Sometimes we're training and it takes us a little longer to respond because we got to put stuff back on the truck. Or guys are asleep. It takes a little longer to get them going than if they're sitting at the station already ready to go. So there are some avenues to allow us not to meet it 100% of the time, but 90% of the time.
a big piece of that is the station location. And with the addition of Firehouse 3, that greatly improved our ability with meeting the parameters of 1710. There are, as we look at the future, and two things that will affect it really is distance and call volume. Because if you're continually running a lot of calls, then you don't have the units available, and they're having to come from further areas to respond into that area. So with the addition of Firehouse 3, every call that 3s makes, that's an opportunity for 1s and 2s to stay in the house and be in that district available to respond and have a reduced response time. Will there be a day that we need a station 4? Again, with the time, with the response times, with the amount of calls and the availability or unavailability of any particular unit. Those are the data points that we kind of look at and trend when we try to determine, do we need 1 station or do we need 7? 7 probably not, but do we need we have a 3rd, and it has greatly improved our response and got us to the 2. But do we need the 4th? And if so, where? Do we need to relocate what we have when we do these type of studies? Those are constant things that we're looking at to make sure that we're doing what we need to do.
Well, on that point, you've spent the last several months working on a fire location study, looking at what you might want to do with Firehouse 2, looking at the potential for Firehouse 4. But the study, as I understand, is really taking about a 10 to 12 year look So we just don't do it on the spur of the moment. So we had talked about, are there some more optimum locations for Firehouse 2? And I think we've identified, yes, that's the case. But that's about somewhere in the next 5 to 7 years, I believe is accurate. And then Firehouse 4 is, 12 plus years. But we need to plan today to do that. So could you expand a little bit about your experience with that, or what maybe you learned from that?
We had a great study from UTA that we met on, and it kind of opened our eyes a little bit to some things. I think we were already thinking them, but it's nice to have somebody come in and go, okay, you're on the right track. A lot of it, we say, 12 years for Station 4, 5 to 7 years for a relocate of Station 2. And yes, that's a good plan. However, if our call volume continues to do what it's doing, it may speed up one or both of those processes. It's hard to say, but our call volume is trending up. If you, I know you have seen our apparatus on 35 all the time. It seems like every day. And that's just trending up. And part of that's the population growth in North Texas, but certainly the population growth in the Lake Cities. And we have the very exciting Agora project and some other key complexes coming into all of Lake Cities. It's just going to, I think it's just going to increase our call volume. So we'll just have to see how far out that comes, and do we pare that down, or are we okay and it maybe can be extended? That's a, I guess, wait and see.
And you kind of hit on it, because we are looking downstream. The term I like to use is, I like to keep peeking around the corner, because if we don't, then we turn the corner and we're surprised, and then we're reactionary. Try to avoid that as much as we can. Specifically with stuff like this, there's no reason we can't look downstream. We can't look around the corner and go, all right, here's where we're going. Because what it could do is, knowing we're headed that way gives us the opportunity to rechannel our current operations to be sure we're fully maximizing that potential, and then go, okay, well, we've done all of these things and we still need it, instead of, oh, let's just put another. I don't think that's responsible. I think having these studies and coming in and looking at the information, looking at it early, 5, 10, 12 years ahead of time, and then being able to adjust that, but ensuring that we are being as efficient as we can with our operation to maximize our potential right now before we push ourselves to that next level, I think is key. I think if we grow too fast, as far as we throw all these stations out there and then we don't have the support of the infrastructure to support them, I think it creates another set of problems that are probably more detrimental to our overall serviceability than not having it. So I think as we look downstream, I think we're right in tune, and we're coordinating with the planning department to see what's coming, to see with all 4 of the towns and cities, because it's important for us to know, especially as we look at new equipment and other things, what is the purpose and what is the need, and what do we have or what do we need to purchase, get changed to, in order to affect a continued quality of service.
Well, within that vein, we're seeing taller buildings, certainly in Corinth and Hickory Creek and Lake Dallas, which kind of takes us to the issue of the length of the ladders that you have on your fire equipment. Is about 75 feet now.
Correct.
And now we're starting to see a need to go to 100 feet.
The need is there, yes, sir.
Okay, and it's really related to the growth in at least 3 of the 4 cities. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is correct. The leading factor is the growth in the 3 towns and cities. Though the 4th one, there's not a lot of additional growth, but what we lose in height, we have in length. So, because in Shady Shores, for example, there's a lot of homes that set way back off the curb, and the trucks won't make it that reach, with the 70. They won't even get to the house. But with the longer one, so I think it benefits the entire district. But it definitely gets us the ability to get up above something, to either effect a rescue from an upper floor or to get above the fire to contain it, to keep it from spreading and going through the entire building, or being able to contain it and protect the neighbors. Sometimes, depending on the level of heat and the level of distance between the buildings or exposures, that's factored into our operational plan our tactics as we're fighting this fire. And oftentimes an elevated master stream or an elevated vantage point are critical to that. And we're seeing more and more of the need for a taller ladder, and the 75 foot we have now, it's good for most of the residential stuff we have around here. But when we look at the 4-story apartments that are coming in, several of the towns and the buildings that are coming in, we've got the Olana, which is it's been a very large facility. So we've been assessing all of that, and we've been working, like I said, with planning to kind of see what's coming in and trending, and specific to the ladder, that's the information we're getting, and that's when we start nailing that down, that's kind of where we're headed. That we need that longer ladder. We need the 100 foot at least. So
Yeah, another aspect of the ladder truck, I mentioned we're on the highway all the time, and Louisville and now Denton have implemented a blocker truck, and quite frankly, we're getting hit. We've been hit twice in the last couple of months. Louisville has been hit 5 times. Denton has some really severe wrecks with their apparatus. Grapevine just had one. And so the ladder truck also helps protect us on the highway. I know it's frustrating when you sit in traffic and you're wondering what's going on and all that, but it's a danger. That's the most dangerous thing we do is respond to 35 and on those accidents. And so the bigger truck also helps protect our crews. It protects the other apparatus. So I think, not only is it a fire response thing, but it's also a highway response apparatus for us.
Yeah, we'll be able to carry a lot of the rescue equipment that we honestly don't have room for on our current rigs. That if someone's, there's a lot of large trucks that travel up and down that road, and there's times when we need big equipment to kind of pull those things apart and get folks out and stuff. So there's numerous reasons for needing the bigger truck, but that's we try to look at all of it. And what we've done, just as I was saying earlier, we really tried to maximize our potential with what we have, and I feel like I can look folks in the eye and honestly say we have really done that. And then also it will help maintain the ISO as we grow in the district and set ourselves up in that next stage for the next level of growth.
Good. So really when I sit here and we talk about accreditation, it's almost a mindset about how we look at operations. Are we following best practices? But it's also looking at station location, equipment. It's a whole host, or it's an approach to how you think about the fire service. Would that be a good summary, perhaps?
Absolutely. It is truly a mindset, and it's a mindset of striving for excellence, and not striving for mediocrity. Not being content. I don't believe in change just to say we're changing. I believe in change with purpose, and this mindset and the accreditation. It allows us the ability to, and even in reminders, good point. I've learned that, but also it's almost a check and balance. Like, this is where we're headed, and then these folks come in and go, yeah. So it makes you feel good. So
I don't remember is it a yearly process on our accreditation?
With the Texas Commission,
right?
It's
a year. So
yearly.
We're not going to be able to sit on our hands and put this on a shelf. We got to keep it going, because in the next year they're going to come back and evaluate, and we got to make sure we're staying on top of stuff.
It's not a one and done. That's for sure. Because any changes, we have to reassess every year. They want certain things they want to receive, and there is a cost involved. And I can tell you that wrote a grant for the Texas Municipal League, offered a grant to cover this whole process that we've gone to was funded by a grant, other than just the 12 months of staff hours assimilating the information and.
Well, I think the accreditation's important, and I think from a resident standpoint, it's important because as you're moving through this and with the accreditation, our police department's accredited, public works is accredited, the purchasing component in the city's accredited, the planning department has been through their standards of excellence. So I think it's an attitude that we want to have throughout the organization. So I really commend you for all of the work. You have submitted all your self-assessment data, and now you're waiting for your final on-site inspection, and that will occur about when?
I think January is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it'll probably take them a few weeks, especially with the holidays around the corner, to ensure that what we submitted them is what they wanted, which we know it is.
And they're going to come in and quiz our guys. And I mean, it's not just a rubber stamp. They come in and look at paperwork. They're going to get after it a little bit. So we're going to have to be ready for it.
Well, and they'll do that, and then they'll submit that to their accreditation council, who will review it and then vote whether or not to grant accreditation. We're looking forward to a celebration when you get the plaque that you're officially accredited.
We're excited. We're confident in what we're doing and what we have submitted, and we're excited to hear back from them and looking forward to their site visit so we can show off a little bit and brag to them, and they can actually see that we that what we know, that we have a great department.
Good. Well, we thank you very much for being here. We thank all of you for listening on our Let's Talk Corinth episode today. And I know that all of you are as proud as we are of the quality service that we receive through the fire department. So thank you very much for being here with us today.
And thank you for having us.